video. Yeah, why not? Got some cigarettes. Thank you, Jared guy. Anyway, it's the same guy. I'm not very nice to the people who are nice to me occasionally. Kind of weird cigarettes, though, called Misty. Yeah, so a little bit gay and such. Makes me feel all... I think I am wearing a woman's shirt, so it's the kind of thing it does to you, I guess. Anyway, yeah, so I tend to want to respond to Anekantavad, but I also have a little bit of the drama theme, so I don't know. Maybe I'll combine the two videos. So I'll do this first and we'll see how it goes. See how much I have to talk to say what I gotta say, which shouldn't, I don't think it'll be that much. But we'll see. I always think it won't. It's just simple. It's always simple. This shouldn't take any time at all. I mean, just, I don't know. You could just cram into like a 2-hour, one of those shows, like the science shows where you have a panel and you talk for a couple hours. And it seems to me you should work out all this stuff in 2 hours and be done with it. It just isn't that complicated how to civilize human beings and recognize the certain bits of futility, and not that difficult. Anyway, all right. So in this video, he does, I don't know, it's a response to Hafnaday just about this right to be ambiguous and contradictory and not to obey the Western rules of logic, as if there's, as if this is a food preference too. Like even something like the subject of what reasoning is, based on evidence, and that evidence dictates how trials are conducted. Like there's some better way to conduct a trial than to have evidence presented and have the evidence essentially convict somebody, the weight of it. And that there should be some other kind of process, some other way to trial people, where you see how much they weigh and whether they float or not, and then you can decide whether they're evil. No, there's no other way. There's evidence and the conclusions the evidence point to, and that's it. And this pretense that there's some other way to know the truth is just bullshit. And you can go ahead and sell it, go ahead and pretend that faith is the way to figure out what the truth is, but it's not. I mean, it's just proven its unreliability at billions and billions of times. What the hell is that? Stop breaking into my house, whoever you are. Some sort of furry creature of some kind, no doubt. Stop it. Cones or something. No, it's not out there. Snow out there, so the critters, I guess they all figure, hey, looks nice in there. Yeah, nicer than out there anyway, right? Now I can see it's not very nice in here, but it's a lot nicer than outside. Damn. Anyway, there's always something. I just don't know, there's nothing, and then all of a sudden, so, and you're harassed by some critter. The last few days, it's just... whatever.
It's interesting that if you do what Zapta would call dropping your anchor anywhere, you can then take that fact and twist it to make, or twist it, I shouldn't say twist it, you can then use that fact to come to almost as many conclusions as you can in not dropping your anchor.
Okay, so this is just another one of these. This is, again, he argues from these premises that I would argue are completely silly. So the idea is that you come to a conclusion. There's no extraterrestrials. And he's almost arguing that somehow by making that decision, you have opened the door to more possibilities. When what you've really done is close the door to possibilities. It's quite clear you've narrowed the bubble of reality. If I say evolution is the truth, that's our origin. I've narrowed possibility. Substantially narrowed it, I would argue, like by billions of percentages. I have reduced what is now viable theory. So his argument, like I said, he just keeps quoting Nietzsche and Zoffi, and I mean, sorry, I mean, you can quote lunatics forever. He even said that Nietzsche wasn't anti-natalist, and I don't think you ever come up with any kind of direct quotes beyond a breeding war, where Nietzsche would concede breeding makes any sense. I don't think there was anything in Nietzsche that said, oh yes, I must do this thing. I mean, obviously he didn't do it. So I don't know if I really buy that argument. I mean, only in the eugenic sense was Nietzsche concerned with the subject at all. So I guess he would argue, if they're going to breed, then you should breed to outbreed them, or some kind of argument like that, but there's nothing, well, anyway. No need to argue that point. So anyway, so the point I'm just arguing here is, this is the, so he acknowledges that you can't do anything really constructive. If I'm playing football, you're playing baseball at the same time on the same field, that's going to get ugly. It really isn't going to make any sense. You're not going to do anything constructive. Some of the fans might enjoy it, but I'm just saying it's really not going to be any kind of you're not going to be able to keep a score or do anything reasonable. It's just going to be a spectacle. It's not going to be a constructive event, in any kind of deliberate way. You're not going to make anything in the end. I guess you could argue, I mean, a better metaphor might be if we're both building, and I'm building a building and you're building a ship. We're doing it with the same lot, and you're trying to make a giant ship and I'm trying to make a tall building. Obviously things aren't going to work, and we might come up with something funny or interesting, nice piece of art, but we're not going to come up with anything that's going to either float or be live-inable. And so that would be my argument here, and I guess he's kind of conceding it, but don't, which is so strange. And again, so let's understand, the confinements I'm demanding of him are, in my opinion, quite reasonable. I'm just saying, okay, I can't really play your magical game, so I have to deal in the facts that I am quite confident of. I'm quite confident we evolved. I don't really care whether the first seeds of life came from another planet, because that really doesn't solve anything anyway. That's just the God bullshit, where you just move evolution to another planet. Well, who cares? I'm quite confident that life wasn't placed in the universe, that it evolved from chemistry, and it's doing something very chemical. And you can see that in our own bodies, the way they function. You have teeth because you have to smash the energy out of the stuff you're consuming. You don't get it directly from the sun. You have to get it from the things that have made it out of the sun, that are storing it, like little batteries. And you have to chew the batteries up and break them down into these little tiny chemicals, but you're not really feeding your body. You're feeding your cells, and your cells are still living in the ocean from their perspective. They're still living out in the sea somewhere, and they're just collecting stuff from the fluid they're suspended in, and all your body is doing is providing them with nutrients in the water. They're polluting the seawater, your blood, with the nutrients, and providing a mechanism to get up to the cells, and the cells are eating just little chemicals, little sugars. That's the function of the machine. So I can explain the teeth, I can explain the ears, I can explain eyes, I can explain everything. All this function is explainable. It's just a biological mechanism intended for this really simple purpose of, survival as a genetic code. And we know that the rules of survival through this process of evolution is, yes, you make copies, and the whole copying thing really doesn't work if you don't get rid of the old copy, because it just gets crowded out. So yeah, the old goes away to make room for the new. And this is how you can improve the model and have this competition. And that's the dumb, crude, natural game. Clearly, I think another one of these little axiom arguments, not a bold leap in terms of an accepted truth, is that our intelligence has lifted us above the game, where we don't really function in the I am my stomach, I am my teeth, I am my crudest sensations. We know we're a lot more than that now. I mean, we're capable of playing a much more sophisticated game than the checkers that is nature. Nature is checkers, and we can play this chess thing. We can up the level of the interaction and the competition, and now we're having a competition of ideas instead of a competition, who can outmaneuver the other person to get more bananas. We're really not chasing the simple mechanism of consumption and reproduction. And even our subjective addictions have gotten a little more elegant. We expect a little bit more, even aesthetically, than the crude environment presents, because we've seen the female form prettied up, and we say we likey, me likey, or something like that. Not that the wild woman doesn't have some appeal, but I just mean, it's clearly we can perfect our song as birds, in a way you could say it that way. We don't have to just be robots to the natural process. We can appreciate other music. Most importantly, we can do this abstract thinking about what it is to even be alive and how we're maneuvered in this game. But the game is still understood. This is just chemistry, okay, on a planet. It has the mechanism that created it is crude. We can understand the crude origins of our sensations. We know, penis, vagina, it's all pretty simple. Food, stomach, gratification, ego, alphaness, all these sensations we have, the whole competitive thing, we know why we feel it. There's just nothing here, that I don't think it's asking too much, that just for the sake of the argument you concede, okay, I get that. I get that that's pretty heavy evidence for that's what the bubble is that we exist in. And if you want to believe in something extra, that's fine. I just want you to concede that this is the bubble of the real hard facts. And I guess there might be some part of you that doesn't wish to concede some of those facts because they are kind of rigidly incompatible with any kind of leprechaun theory or any theory of some other purpose that consciousness is serving, or that it's functioning through some other mechanism besides just being a value engine, some way to make the organism need what's in the environment, to motivate it to chase in a way that can be individually programmed. And again, that's another evolutionary function. There's advantage to being able, this huge ability, this tremendous adaptability we're given based on having these sense organs. That's why mammals cover the earth, is because it's a very successful method of adaptation, rather than having a strict, rigid program of, it's a certain temperature, my legs go, 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 go. I smell something, I go, 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 go. Antenna sense something, go, 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 go. Instead of being just really overtly robotic, we're much more complicated in terms of the subtlety of the roboticness. It's still robot, but it's much more complex in that the processing of the stimulation can take decades. Something happens to you 10 years ago. It floats in through the swirl of your memories, it gets connected to something, and it pops right back to the surface again, and it does something, it creates a behavior or a painting or something. So incredibly nuanced, but still mechanical, still determined, and I think you're not totally afraid of that word, that we're just living out the mechanical process. But there is no, underlying anything. And I'm just saying, so then the only other, once I get you to concede that that's reasonable stuff. This is good evidence. This is, you're being a fair cop to say, yeah, that's kind of a solid description of our circumstance. And then all I have to do is inject into that the idea or the notion that, yeah, I'm sampling consciousness, and I'm sampling it in a genuine way. I'm not special. I'm not doing it in some unique way. I'm doing it in the common human way in most respects. I have common human fears and apprehensions and aversions. Yes, there's subtle differences. You like big boobs, me not so much. Something like that. Some sort of, we could negotiate over how much subjectivity there is in all of this, and how much nuance or uniqueness, and whether any of that matters. I think we both know what is fun and what isn't. I can understand that, hey, I know it has value when it's happening to me. I know rotten sensations are rotten sensations, and whether or not they build my character or do some other stuff, yeah, that's all swell. But I'm just saying the idea of learning the hard way, I think it'd be better to learn the easy way, frankly, without having your skin actually burned off. Just imagining having it burned off should be good enough. So I would argue that most of this character building can happen through words. It doesn't need to happen through actual. I really shouldn't actually have to boil you in oil to send a message to your intelligence. Shouldn't have to give you cancer for you to understand. Not a good time. Sorry, no ashtray. It's good stuff. Yeah. It's good for the drain. Anyway, where was I? So this thing, I've made this longer than I thought I would have to. I guess I'm not even going to play anything else, and so I should have just put the camera down. Sorry. Yes, after 10 years, I certainly haven't learned any better habits in terms of video production. So I guess that's I'm not going to beat it to death. But I guess all I'm saying is I think you sort of have conceded some of these points that if from my perspective, as you can understand it, you should be able to understand, because it's a simpler perspective. I don't have any gods or complex moving parts in my perspective. It's a pretty simple perspective. Okay, biological organism evolved over billions of years to basically be a consuming and reproducing device that does it through sensations of addiction, attachment, and fundamentally we're all parasitic, because there's an advantage in sucking your neighbor's guts out and not having to do the work yourself. Okay, stealing energy works on planet Earth as a strategy, because it's a lifeboat with no rules, right? There's no guy with a gun saying, hey, we're going to do this civilized. So the lifeboat is pretty uncivilized, and things are getting thrown off for all kinds of bad reasons and self-interested purposes. Yeah, so if you, and so the only other ingredient, again, is just some understanding that I'm not doing anything unique. I'm sampling consciousness. I know there's this bad stuff happening. I know I don't want to be tortured. I know that for damn sure. I mean, maybe you're not sure, but I'm damn sure. And I know it wouldn't be good to torture other human beings, and it's the rare occasion where it's productive, builds character or something, makes the wife pay attention or whatever. So what? It's certainly not worth the horror of it. The fact that a few people might have gotten a moment of sincere appreciation for other people's sacrifice because they watched a World War II movie, really, that little bit of enlightenment probably really isn't worth, burning all of those 18 to 21-year-olds alive and stuff. Yeah, probably not worth it. So I guess, like I said, you may have conceded this in the past, but I'm just saying I don't have anywhere to argue from that it's kind of a complete perspective from my opinion. It covers all the bases. I mean, everything's covered here. I don't need to cover anything else. I don't need to make anything else. I don't have to explain anything. There's no shadows. There's no leftover footprints. There's no other evidence that I really need to pay attention to. The only other evidence is just people's fables and stories and myths and woo-woo. But there's no hard evidence of anything else going on, right? And so I'm perfectly reasonable in this conclusion that, yeah, we're playing kind of a dumb natural game. We're doing it in this fancy way, singing and dancing. But in the end, the singing and dancing is basically harming a lot of stuff. It's all made out of an awful lot of misery and suffering, and most of it by children, which is still, it's damn ugly. You know, that most of the dying things on Earth are immature teenagers. That's pretty disgusting. And there's no have to do any of this stuff. So yeah, why bother perpetuating? Why advocate for it? Why say, yeah, keep the natural process of this infection, this pus. You know, it's like saying there's a pimple on Earth. I mean, on the moon. You know, full of living bacteria, and your thing is, yeah, that's cool. You know, it's suffering. Oh, cool. Let's have some more of that. Let's make some more disease and death. That's just a fun thing. You know, come on. So anyway, I think you've already conceded it. So. Yeah, so where there's nothing to talk about, right? Because all my ethics are just going to come down to this basic equation. You know, that you're just a psychology, you're satisfying perfectly unnecessary, you're a perfectly unnecessary need machine, and if you didn't exist, you wouldn't need to exist. And that's just a simple truth. The need is part of having the experience and being vulnerable and having the addiction. And if you don't give anybody the addiction, you don't have to make heroin anymore, right? I mean, it's just that simple. It's a vicious and silly cycle of, you know, life, damage, destruction, death. Yeah. Just nothing to glorify here. Nothing to defend, realistically. So anyway, I guess that's all I was trying to say is what's the talk? What is there for us to communicate about? Because all of your values come from this outside realm of, you know, I think I'm accomplishing something because I had a yummy piece of cheese. Ooh. You know, sorry, I just find it kind of laughable that you can turn those gratifications into enough to pay for the horror. Anyway, probably enough. Okay, leave it there. How much time do I have? Can't tell on this camera. Probably go bad on me. Well, anyway, so there was a little bit of talk here on the Drunken Peasants, so I just thought I'd play it because, you know, it was a little so, you know, my name came up, so might as well. It was another really bad episode. I don't know what these guys just don't seem to want to do anything coherent. They're always doing some kind of background nonsense, you know, shooting water pistols at each other full of piss or something. I don't know. It's just, you know, it's really just a 10-year-old show. I mean, 10-year-old children kind of show could do this. I mean, maybe that would be watchable, you know. 10-year-olds dressed in different, like one dressed as SpongeBob, and one could be dressed as Barney the dinosaur, and one could be, you know, couldn't be, maybe it'd be funny. Throw in a little sex and drugs. I'm sure TJ will tune in.
I mean, I want you out there as commenters to think about this. What exactly am I doing that is like inmendham?
You're obstinate.
Okay, so they both said obstinate at the same time, I guess. So maybe I appreciate you saying that to Brett Keane, because he's, always rationalizing excuses for lying and all that kind of shit. But I mean, it is a little bit irritating. A classification that, please go ahead, go make a video or reveal all of the times I have been shown to be just completely wrong. I don't think so.
I'd like to know.
You refuse to believe when you're wrong. When somebody points out that you're wrong, you both obstinately live in filth-covered hovels.
Filth-covered hovels. I mean, that's coming from the Amazing Atheist, who, he grew up as a little rich boy, before Daddy threw it all away. Well, I mean, before he got caught and it was taken away. So, and whatever. Again, I'm not gonna. I don't think even if I had, money. Well, it depends on how much I have, of course. But yeah, it's a little bit difficult managing a life when you have a disability. You can't just go to the hardware store. You can't just do something. So you have to you have to make everything yourself and find a way to survive. And I've had to live without heat in the house and all kinds of stuff like that. And and I have to make a little bit of whatever living I can make out of the little shit I can put together here. So I have to have tools, and I have to have all kinds of stuff, and it all has to fit in this little, very small cottage, and that's not easy to do. And I'm sort of an interesting person. I mean, I have a lot of interests. So I have a microscope, and I have this, and I have that. I have different tools of my being more than just a a drug addict kind of things to do. But anyway, I mean, it's okay to critique. I mean, I have let my life get kind of out of control, but it's almost like my YouTube channel itself and my whole function on the internet. I mean, I have all these websites, I have channels, I have this, I have that, I have all these subjects. I mean, I do spread myself way too thin, okay? So, but there is some value to that. You're not going to get, if I waste my time cleaning house, then I can't watch physics videos, and I can't,
You both are kind of hermits.
Well, that's just not kind of nice, but whatever. I don't think Brett Keane. I don't think Brett Keane has any real disability, to tell you the truth. And he's just basically living off the disability of his daughter. Without his daughter, frankly, he'd be in a homeless shelter. Because the system really is getting thinner and thinner. The resources getting thinner and thinner, and it's really tough. I don't want to be. I'm just saying. I've had to live with this thing for, decades. Not a fun experience. I'm telling you. Whatever. I mean, I say walk in my shoes, and then you can ridicule, but I mean, till then, it just kind of sounds kind of like, you're talking shit from ignorance. I mean, that's all.
Don't leave the house much, or you're...
Well, look, I probably have done more walk and talk videos than anybody on YouTube. So, I mean, I do leave the house a lot. Okay, I just don't do the whole busy street thing. That's all.
You're both unkempt. I mean,
well, unkempt. I see, that was one that I just said. Well, Paul, come on, Paul. I mean, if we're gonna go based on just appearances, I mean, fuck, you're like, you're like almost identical twins. If we just dye one of these guys' hair, and you're hiding behind the glasses and the gameplay. Most times you're wearing a hat. I mean, and if you really, Paul, if we took you, and put your little poster of you, like this, me and then you, and then we go find 100 chicks and we say, who's kemptier? You think you're gonna win? I don't think so. Yeah, sorry, you don't look like Mr. Kempt. I mean, that whole big beard thing is, sorry. I mean, that even turns off my gaydar, whatever. If I have any gay in me, well, whew, Yeah, beards? No, thank you. That wipes that right out.
I could go on, Brett.
Well, I wish you would, just because for my own edification. Yeah, I'd like to. As I frankly don't see anything similar between me and Brett Keane at all. So, you know, but I mean, I just, you know, I see a lot more similarity between you guys, you know, than me and him. But whatever, you know, go ahead, live in your little delusions. It's okay.
Do you want to keep going? Or
yes, please keep going. But he's not going to keep going.
Is it apparent now that you and Gary share a kinship in a lot of things?
Yeah, well, like I said, I think you're the more kinny with Brett Keane than I am, and you know that's. I think I could demonstrate that if we make a little top 10 list of all the kinny shippy thingies, you probably have more. So, fuck you, Paul.
Oh, they're twins. Now, I'll tell you this. After interacting with both of you, Gary is way fucking more, he's way more intelligent than you are.
He's way more interesting, too.
Way more
Oh, there you go. So, that's sort of a win, right? Sort of, yeah. Well, for a retard, he's a lot more or less, you know, he's okay, I'm taking it, though. Okay, left-handed compliments or whatever. You know, out of the side of this side of my mouth. Yeah, this appears to be a little bit more articulate. Yeah, he doesn't say Orn. I'll say that for him.
Interesting as a person.
Gary!
Yes, he is interesting as a person. Yes. Gary. Ew. Still kind of a cringe-worthy name. Wasn't really my choice. I didn't have anything to do with it.
You know, I don't agree with the dude a lot. He hates me.
I wanted to be called Vigo. I don't hate you, Paul. Come on now, you know. You know, look, I mean, you know, there's a hit. I was, you know, Paul used to come into the stick cam room, and every time he did, I would announce him like a perfectly, you know, it's like a celebrity, you know. Hey, Paul's Ego, and blah, blah, blah. And I was very, every time Paul made a video, I'd always say on the what the fuck, hey, Paul made a video, blah, 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 blah. I've always liked Paul. And even now, you know, I'm just saying that, well, I don't like this guy too much, whatever this personality is now. It just isn't as much. You know, I'm sorry. Yeah, I just don't do the whole Arkansas fun thing. You know, I'm just not big on this whole whatever these man cavers or something. I don't know what this shit is, but yeah, it's just not my thing. I mean, I can't really think. You know, tell you the truth, well, I can't really say because I haven't had too many male friends anyway. You know, I'd have to go back to when I was a kid and none of them had beards. Yeah, so I never hung out with bearded guys. Just kind of weird. Queer to me.
Now that I'm on the Drunken Peasants, but I don't hate him.
Yeah, well, Paul, I don't hate you. Again, you just told, you know, I know that's probably part of your whatever it is, some sort of psychology issue, but yeah, I just hate wasted potential. I've never even hated TJ. It's just, you know, I've always pointed out. I mean, he has all this potential to be, you know, to do something with these ignorant slobs that are, you know, kissing his feet, and all he does is teach them how to be buckets of puke. I mean, it doesn't inspire anybody to achieve anything of meaning. If he was going to do anything, it would be some art thing. Oh yeah, try to be Marilyn Manson, or try to have sex in some kind of really bizarre position, you know. You know, yeah, I try to make your own business making like anal beads that are shaped like bananas. Or something. I mean, you know, he's just going to encourage people to do things that are just totally useless to civilization. And that's always been my critique. Amazing wastiest. Get it? Just waste. I hate waste, Paul, and I just think this is sort of a waste of your talent, is to be, you know, the narrator for Jackass. It's like having that real professional voice guy that used to do the voice for the different shows on the networks. He just like did everything, you know, the news, he did all that stuff, like the intros and whatever, you know, and it's like having him, you know, do the intro for the show Jackass or something. It just seems like beneath you a little bit. Yeah, that guy from like Saturday Night Live, remember that voice guy, Saturday Night Live? Yeah. Just seems like a waste of potential, that's all.
I think he's got some good ideas. And
Gary, come in here.
Talking to Gary, yes.
Gary, where are you?
Oh, that's that Richard Simmons guy. Ew. I mean, I rather he did like SpongeBob talking to his snail, but that, like, ugh, that Richard Simmons guy is really irritating.
He's right there in Mendham, you know?
In Mendham.
In Mendham.
We used to call him In Breadman.
He hates you now because you're on this show?
He used to call me all kinds. It was in denim. That was the, virtual Holocaust variation. It just doesn't seem like it's that hard a word, but anyway. I tried to be Do Not God, but YouTube wouldn't let me. They had to kill that channel.
In Bedlam, they
Breadman.
Do you remember that's what a fucking Case used to call him? In Bedlam.
Do you convert?
Yeah, I was thinking of doing some of that old In Bedlam stuff. I was thinking about the what was it called? Oh fuck. And I did the subscriber blockade thing. There was a better word for that. What the hell was that? But yeah, I was thinking that all the people who communicate with fake Satan, I'm going to block them. Oh, it'll be fun. An embargo, yeah. The subscriber embargo.
With In Mendham?
I used to.
I'd like to have In Mendham on here.
You know what the thing is about In Mendham?
Oh, God.
I'll ask him. You know what? I'll make contact because I've had way more contact than any of you with In Mendham.
Yeah, well, it's almost Sunday, and Paul, this was done Friday, so yeah, he hasn't made contact yet. It's probably going to break my heart again. He used to just drop out of the room. Now, he'd always say it was his internet connection or something, but he'd just drop out of the room. It always hurt my feelings.
So I'll make contact with In Mendham. He may not want to talk to me because I associate with you guys now. What is going on?
Okay, that's as far as they got because then all the nonsense happened. So that was sort of the end of the conversation, I believe. Well, I'll make sure.
I'm sorry, I'm just like having trouble fucking keeping a train of fucking thought.
Over there giving
Yeah, well, see, it's your own show, and you should. It seems to me that you guys ought to be able to turn to, have some studio control. Yeah, it seems you should be able to manage little things like that. Not having some superfluous crap bleeding into the show, like the dog barking or something. Well, it seems if you're getting paid, that's all. That's professional, you know what I mean? I'm not paid, so I'm allowed not to have any of those professional standards. But anyway, yeah, I suppose it couldn't hurt. I don't think there'd be any. It'd be really interesting just to see if I went on the Drunken Peasants. I'd love to just see what portion of the Drunken Peasant audience would be at all useful to me. Like if there was even, like if it was what percentage, like whether it was 1% or 0.001%, because I'd sort of be willing to bet I wouldn't get 100 subscribers out of it. I'm sort of thinking that's probably, that there's absolutely no crossover. But who knows? Anyway, but yeah, it'd be interesting just to see what you could, what kind of conversation could be made in terms of just maybe broaching a couple of these issues that are, we're in conflict about. Breaking into the house. Anyway, so that's enough of a video, right? So a little combination video. Probably confused people. Anyway. Stop it! Beastie! Get the hell out of here. Seems like it's too big to be a mouse. That's the part that bothers me. Anyway. Stupid cat doesn't take care of any of this stuff. Anyway. It's a problem with living in the country. You get critters. Anyway. So I think that's enough. Yeah. So, I don't know if there was something else I had to add. I did the what the fuck like Friday into Saturday, so it's a little behind in some of the details of the recent drama, but I don't think any of it really matters. Fake Sagan did another video supporting Trump in some kind of bizarre way, but I stopped listening after he started talking about how the CIA killed Kennedy, and fake Sega is not going to be at all useful. It's just silly and crazy. And you have to almost say ignorant. I mean, yeah, you have to. I mean, conspiracy theorists are just by definition kind of ignorant. But anyway, till next time and such, and so forth and whatnot.